as U.S. Ambassador to Japan. Prior to her nomination, Ambassador Kennedy worked as a lawyer and authored, co-authored, or edited more than a dozen books. She's had articles published in the New York Times, Newsweek, and Time. A committed public servant, she previously served as Vice Chair of the Board of Directors and as Honorary Director of the Fund for Public Schools, and as Chief Executive Officer of the Office of Strategic Partnerships in New York City. I'm pleased to introduce Evan Ryan, Assistant Secretary of State for Educational and Cultural Affairs. Secretary of State Ryan became the leader of Educational Cultural Affairs in 2013. She oversees a wide range of academic, cultural, private sector, professional, youth, and sports exchange programs to increase mutual understanding between people of the United States and people of more than 160 other countries. Previously, Ms. Ryan served in numerous government capacities, including service in the White House under First Lady Hillary Clinton, and she was consultant for the Education Partnership for Children of Conflict. I am also pleased to introduce two CUNY students. Latoya Bethune is a philosophy and humanities major from Hunter College, who received a Gilman Scholarship to study in Tanzania during the summer of 2015. While there, Latoya interned with a secondary girls' school, which led to her involvement with a creative film project that was shown during the annual Day of the Girl Summit in the United Nations in October 2015. Latoya plans to go to law school to help victims of human rights abuses. Finally, it is my pleasure to introduce William Suda. Bill is a Japanese studies major from LaGuardia Community College. He participated in the Critical Language Scholarship Program during the summer of 2015 in Japan. After completing the program, he extended his stay in Japan to meet his Japanese relatives, whom he had never met. His father was a second-generation Japanese American, and learning Japanese was a personal goal for Bill that turned into an academic endeavor. The Critical Language Scholarship Program provided him with the opportunity to intensively learn Japanese and reconnect with his family, culture, and heritage. So, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Provost Rabinowitz, for this introduction and for the opportunity to speak here at Baruch College today. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We are delighted to be here today, and I'm especially delighted to be here with Ambassador Kennedy, who's with us here from Japan. It is a particular pleasure to speak to a room full of students and educators about the value of studying abroad. This is a topic that is very important to me, both because of the value that it represents for our country and foreign policy, and because of the incredible opportunity it represents for students and the people they meet overseas. Having studied abroad myself, I can personally attest how transformative an experience it can be. When I studied abroad in England as a college junior, I didn't anticipate that the new skills and knowledge I gained would help me build a successful career. Now, I am honored to lead the State Department's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. Our mandate at the State Department is to build relations between the people of the United States and the people of other countries through academic, cultural, sports, professional, and private sector exchange programs. These exchange programs improve foreign relations and strengthen the national security of the United States. They support our foreign policy goals and provide tangible benefits by helping break down the barriers that often divide us. People-to-people exchanges are critical to sharing knowledge and skills that enable us to work collaboratively to tackle the world's toughest issues, to include challenges of security and violent extremism, resource scarcity, food insecurity, climate change, and public health. At the State Department, we know that diplomacy no longer belongs just to the diplomats. It belongs to the scientists, entrepreneurs, artists, innovators, and yes, students. We want to encourage students to study abroad, and that's why we are here today, to answer your questions and talk about the resources available for students who want to go abroad. During the 2013-2014 academic year, about 300,000 Americans studied abroad. We've seen a big increase over the past decade, but this number still only represents 1.5% of the 20 million American students enrolled in higher education. We must do better. Sending American students abroad is a strategic imperative for the United States. It not only builds connections that will help our international relationships for years to come, but it prepares our students for the globalized 21st century workforce. It is an investment in our future. This is why the State Department continues to develop resources and programs for students and universities to encourage study abroad. Last year, the State Department launched the U.S. Study Abroad Office to enhance our efforts. The office's mission is to increase and diversify U.S. participation in study abroad, including the diversity of students, their destinations, and fields of study. It is important that we both increase the numbers of U.S. students who study abroad and also ensure that those who participate in study abroad represent who we are as a nation. I want to take a moment to highlight a few government-sponsored programs that help support U.S. students who want to study overseas. Fulbright scholarships, the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship Program, and the Critical Languages Scholarship Program. The Fulbright U.S. Student Program provides grants to college graduates to carry out an academic project that they propose in a country overseas, or to serve as an English teaching assistant in an institution overseas for an academic year. The Fulbright program also brings foreign graduate students and scholars to the United States. In all, about 8,000 people receive Fulbright scholarships each year. The Gilman program provides scholarships to U.S. undergraduate students who receive Pell Grants and who want to pursue academic study or career-oriented internships abroad. Last year, this program supported 2,800 scholarships to U.S. undergraduates from over 600 colleges and universities. The Gilman program is breaking the ceiling on minority representation in study abroad, with 64% of participants representing ethnic minority groups and 42% being the first in their families to attend college. During the 2013-2014 academic year, 70% of Gilman scholars studied outside of Western Europe, and an equal number studied a language during their program. A great example from CUNY's Baruch College is Nora Haristov. I know Nora's here. There's Nora. An international business major and Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship recipient. Nora learned how business culture in Hong Kong differs from that of the United States and other Western countries. After she graduates this year, Nora plans to pursue a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. And the Critical Language Scholarship Program offers U.S. undergraduate and graduate students fully funded intensive summer language programs overseas in 14 critical foreign languages, including Chinese, Arabic, Swahili, and Japanese. Each year, about 550 students participate in the CLS program, developing language skills and cultural competencies that are vital to our nation's national security and economic prosperity. Citizens who are able to communicate across cultures help develop political, social, and economic cooperation among nations. For example, Alice Su attended the CLS program in Oman. As a freelance journalist, Alice published stories about her experiences with Sudanese and Syrian refugees while abroad, and her work has been featured in the BBC, The Atlantic, Al Jazeera, and The Guardian, among other publications. Alice was honored with a Pulitzer Prize for her work. We're incredibly proud to have supported these impressive alumni who are making a difference in the world as a result of their experiences abroad. I want to encourage all of you to visit our website, studyabroad.state.gov, where you can find U.S. and foreign government resources to study abroad, including more information on the Fulbright program, the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship Program, and the Critical Language Scholarship Program. And for administrators who are here in the audience, we also encourage you to learn more about our exchanges, grants, and capacity building programs that can help you expand your offerings and provide opportunities for faculty, administrators, and students. These efforts support the development of students who are able to think critically and creatively, who have a capacity to communicate and collaborate across cultures, and who understand the economic, social, and political connections among nations. I know that we will be hearing from 2 such students when we turn to our student panel to discuss their study abroad experiences in just a bit, and after that we'll have the opportunity to take questions from the audience. I am confident that through our combined efforts we can ensure that more American students see study abroad as both accessible and essential as we prepare the next generation of global leaders to compete in the global economy and address global challenges. So we look forward to your questions, and we can continue the conversation through Twitter. You can tweet me any additional questions to @ECA_AS and follow #StudyAbroadBecause to join us in encouraging more Americans to study abroad. It is now my great pleasure to welcome Ambassador Kennedy, who leads our U.S. Embassy in Japan and is a longtime supporter of international education. Ambassador Kennedy is deeply committed to promoting expanded student exchanges between the United States and Japan. Ambassador Kennedy?
And congratulations on the work that you've done in highlighting the importance of study abroad at the State Department. Thank you, Provost Christie, Provost Rabinowitz, and for welcoming us here today in support of this important issue. It's great to be back at CUNY. My brother had a very strong relationship with this institution and started a program here to give caregivers for the intellectually disabled a meaningful career path. And so I've always admired this institution and its open-minded and strong commitment to all kinds of diversity. So now I'm here in my capacity as ambassador to Japan. And so I think maybe I should give you, I think if you're not convinced that study abroad is a good idea from what you've already heard, maybe I should give you a little bit of a perspective from how important it is from overseas that I see really honestly every single day. I mean, it is the best investment that you can make in your own future. As Evan said, I think it provides a lot more opportunity for you, speaking another language, of course, but many of the students here already do that. It certainly is critical to solving the global challenges that we face. No one nation can solve these alone, and there is nothing more important right now than people who can work with people from other countries who have an understanding of different cultural traditions and heritages and problem-solving techniques, and I think those are what you really get when you study abroad. I also studied abroad, and all 3 of my children have spent a year abroad, and for the parents in the audience, it's very traumatic to send them off, and especially when they're lonely or homesick. I mean, you're always gratified that they're homesick, but at the same time, you know, you feel it's hard to be apart, and kids don't want to leave their friends. So I really admire anyone who has the courage to take that step, and I just wanted to reassure anyone who's thinking about it, or any friends or siblings, that it will pay off beyond your wildest dreams, and you will make friends that will last a lifetime. You will learn things not only about the country and people that you meet, but about America and about your own family, yourself. And I think that that's really what will serve you well in the long term. I think, I mean, for example, when in Japan, parents are nervous about sending their kids to the United States. It's expensive. Maybe I don't know if they can come here, but and they're worried about the safety issues, certainly. And I know that's something that Americans wonder about when we think about going abroad as well. But that's exactly why we need study abroad, because I think when you, just like you tell people that New York is a safe city who want to visit here and are afraid, the same is true when you go overseas. So it teaches you to cope with unexpected things, but in the long run, you will be safe. The American government is always there. People at the U.S. embassies are incredibly committed to the safety of American citizens, and Evan can talk about that further, but I just want to say firsthand that it's something that we We track people, we check on people. There's somebody 24 hours a day available to help you if you lose your passport. My daughter lost her passport, so I'm not even speaking as an ambassador. And I know that it's really one of the reasons that my father started the Peace Corps, was because he understood that the people who served abroad and brought America to the world would be really doing a national service to our country in terms of promoting our values, our ideology, and what's best about America. But even more, when they brought the world back to America, our country would gain even more from their experiences and the careers that they would go on to have. And I certainly have met many returned Peace Corps volunteers who have become teachers, continue lives of service, and really are connected to all parts of the world. It's true. It's an incredible legacy of his, and it's certainly something that I think study abroad can teach you, even if you don't join the Peace Corps. There are so many world leaders right now and who have studied in the United States, and it's one of the reasons why Japan in particular, our alliance is as strong as it has ever been. The Prime Minister of Japan spent a year and a half at USC, and he loves America, he loves TV, he loves music, and there is no stronger ally that we have in the world than Japan right now, and it's one of our most complex and deep and important relationships. I think it doesn't get as much attention as maybe some other countries because everything is good. And so it's a great place to be ambassador. But that doesn't mean that together we don't face really complex challenges. I mean, everyone knows that the 21st century is going to be, the history of that is going to be written in Asia. And the U.S. and Japan together are confronting security challenges, economic challenges, global health and humanitarian disasters. We work together in outer space research, and all kinds of cultural exchange. Japan happens to be incredibly cool also, so I would recommend on that score. The food is great. But it is really just amazing the multiple layers at which the United States needs people to promote our interests, our values abroad. And so it's really something that you're doing for your country as well as for yourself. So I really would like to encourage you. The Japanese government, for example, and I'm sure others do as well, makes resources available to bring Americans over to teach English. They have 4,000 a year. They have additional scholarship money available for Japanese to come to the U.S., which is something else that we're working on. And then there are many other financial aid opportunities that you can investigate. So that shouldn't be the obstacle and the real reason why you can't come. It's complicated and we need to make it easier, but more and more people are choosing short-term stays, and I think that's a really valuable place to start. We'll hear more about it because it leads you on. I think that faculty and administrators have a special role to play because faculty-led trips are becoming really the most valuable, the most sought after, and the things that sustain over time. And so I think that if you can build a relationship with a faculty member in another country and do reciprocal kinds of projects or trips, that's really valuable. And we're working hard to build institutional partnerships because it is complicated to transfer credits, to work out the finances and all of that. And so it's really something that kids can't do on their own, and the institutions need to help. So we started a program called Team Up, which is really to create, as I said, institutional partnerships between academic institutions in Japan and the U.S. So that kids can go back and forth more easily. And I know that Baruch, I think, has those in place, and many other colleges do too. And we're working hard to make sure that those are between institutions that aren't the typical ones. Historically, black colleges are interested. More rural colleges are interested. We do teacher training and inclusive education. We need to get more educators to come to America and see our higher education system. So this happens on all levels. It isn't just about studying Japanese culture or it's engineering, it's science, it's business. And so I think that people should really think very broadly about their interests and how they might expand those abroad, not just thinking that you're only studying the country that you're visiting. And just one last thing, because I want to get to hear our panelists. I hope that everyone here will be nice to foreign students who come to the United States, because I meet with Japanese students who have been here, and most of them have a fantastic time, and they all say that they couldn't speak English, and someone went out of their way to help them and show them to where they were going, or the cafeteria, or sat with them, and it changes their life. So you can't imagine how important it is, and I know that the place like this is so big, daunting. But I have also heard from people where nobody talks to them. And I don't like to hear that. So I would just say that, treat foreigners as you would hope to be treated when you go to their country. And I think that, coming here is obviously the best experience for anyone from abroad, but I think for all of us to go abroad, we realize how lucky we are to be in America. So thank you very much.
Okay, so now we have time for our panel. And you can see why Ambassador Kennedy is an ambassador for study abroad. So we're so lucky to have her in the States, and we try to take advantage of having her here with us. So thank you, Ambassador Kennedy. But we'd love to, as she mentioned, hear from Bill and Latoya about their own experiences. And I think my first question would be to hear from each of you about what drove you or motivated you. How did you look to each of your study abroad experiences? But I think first maybe you could speak a little bit about your time in Tanzania and your time in Japan.
Okay, so my name is Latoya, great to see you guys here. So in terms of my time in Tanzania, that was actually a study abroad program that I was accepted into from John Day. I'm actually a Hunter student, so there's a resource called ePermit that students can use in order to take classes at different unis. So I enrolled in the ePermit, got accepted to the study abroad program, and while abroad, I was volunteering for an organization called Zanzibar Outreach Program, and with that organization, they required students to set up solar suitcases at an all-girls secondary school. So for the majority of the time there, I was, of course, learning the curriculum, which was an immersion of Tanzanian lives and learning about the women of Tanzania, but also a field work component of installing suitcases on an all-girls secondary school.
My name is Bill. I'm a student at LaGuardia Community College, and I found out about the CLS program through an advisor, and it was suited right towards my general goal, which was to become proficient in Japanese. So I applied, and luckily I got in. It was held in Hikone, Japan, which is a bit rural. It was for 2 months, and it was language intensive studies. So spent 5 days a week in class, 5 hours a day, studying Japanese language and cultural excursions.
And what advice would you have for any students who are here today who are thinking about studying abroad?
So I mentor underprivileged high school students at a program called College Awareness Symbolizes Hope. And the one thing that I drilled to them was the only no that you will ever receive in life is the no that you accept. And I tried, being that I drilled that to them, I wanted to make sure that I embodied that quote. So my advice is just that. If you have I believe everyone has this motivation to go abroad. There's so much more to America, especially if you have not traveled. It's definitely a feasible feat. And just really embody that quote. Know that regardless of the amount of obstacles that are in your way, there's just as many solutions to that obstacle available to you. And one of them is the Gilman scholarship that I was accepted for. That really helped me with the cost, so I did not have to worry about cost. And I know that's one of the main setbacks for your decision to study abroad. But just know that again, the only no that you will ever receive in life is the no that you accept.
My advice would be just to research, because there are opportunities, but it's really difficult to find them, especially if you are in a community college where it's not offered as much. You have to dig yourself, find your own path. use the networking connections that you have, and that's how I found out about the CLS program. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have even heard about it. So just do research.
And what do you think in terms of your own transformation? That's what I know. I think both Ambassador Kennedy and I hear about is when people go abroad and then they come back. It's a very transformative experience. Did something change in your mind in terms of your ideas for yourself before study abroad and after study abroad? Did something open your eyes in terms of a difference around the world that you weren't aware of?
Yeah, I know in America we have a very a point of view that we are the center of the world at times, and I mean especially in New York, like when you're a New Yorker, like I feel that you don't really know that much about what's going on outside of five boroughs. So when I studied abroad in Japan, it really opened my eyes to where we are as a nation, where the rest of the world is. I realized that there are a lot of cultural differences, and that's okay. And that, like for example, Japan is very, I would say, collective, and you have to kind of swim in the stream, and it's fine. And in America, we're individualized more, and students can follow their own path and do what they like, make their own major choices and everything. In Japan, it's more like you do what is acceptable, and that's just the culture. So I realized that like there are a lot of cultural differences that when you're aware of, it makes sense in the scope of the world.
And I had a similar experience. As an American, you tend to not think that you should look to other countries or explore different things. But while I was away, I was in Tanzania, which is a 99% Muslim population, and I was, I guess, forced to adapt to that environment, forced to step out of my comfort zone. But it was amazing because I got to know the culture. I got to experience things that I would have never experienced in America. I got to meet a lot of people, understand why they do certain things. One major challenge was in America we tend to just show respect and shake people's hands, but in there I had to adapt to them not shaking my hand because out of respect, that's what you don't do, or that's what you do. So it was just definitely gaining a greater scope of the different cultures of the world, knowing again, as you said, that America, we're not the center of attention as everywhere we go.
Smart, I think. Sitting next to an ambassador.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important thing, and I'm really impressed that you both have distilled those out of your experience. It wasn't all that long, but I know, I think being abroad, you gain an understanding of even simple habits and rituals and structures that you assume that the way you do it is the way. And there are many ways of doing even very simple things. So I think it teaches you both that country society as well. One of the other, I think there's also a real opportunity. I think the State Department in general in the United States are really trying to reach younger audiences, younger generations around the world. I think that over the last 50 years or so, everybody wanted to come to America. That is still true, but not as there are many places to go. As President Obama says, we're really living in a multilateral world, and we need other countries to work with us to solve these problems, and we have to be part of these multilateral alliances. And I think that's the great strength of America, is that we do have people from all these cultures here who can do that. But at the same time, it's important that we actually can go abroad and learn from the bottom up, if you will. And I think I've really seen that in Japan. It's a very strong culture and traditions, and they have a lot to teach us as well as going both ways. So it's a really powerful experience.
Since you've returned, have you had fellow students, families, and friends who have been interested in perhaps studying abroad or visiting abroad as a result of what they've learned from you?
I've actually had a lot of friends who are interested in going abroad, to Tanzania specifically. I just promoted them the moment I got back. But surprisingly, a lot of my friends, they are interested in studying abroad. Most of my friends are interested in human rights. So one way of, I guess, learning more about the world, learning more about the injustices of the world is to go to those places because we learn so much about them. So I have a lot of friends who are really interested in studying abroad.
Yeah, I'm actually one of the last of my friends to study abroad, so I guess I was inspired to try for it. But yeah, like when I came back, there were, I guess, underclassmen who asked me about my experience, and I did like a little presentation about the CLS program within my school, and I feel like that's what's necessary, like for people that have studied abroad to come back and explain why it's important and what I've gotten out of it, like the positive and negative.
Yeah, I think one of the valuable parts of that is demystifying it, for people who aren't quite sure the best path or what it entails. To be able to talk to a friend who's just returned is, I think, an important piece of it. I know for me that was an important piece of it, is understanding this was something I could actually do. I knew someone who had done it, and maybe that could help me as well. Well, we have questions from the audience, but I don't know if that's.
So I just was wondering if you stay in touch with any of the people, say, family members that you met, and how did you do that?
Stayed in touch with my family members or the people that I met.
The people that you met, are you in touch now with anyone from Tanzania?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the people that we volunteered with were actually Tanzanian. They lived there, and they were my age as well. So, and just to point out, they were on all the social media. They knew Facebook. They knew Justin Bieber. They knew a lot of things, especially just even living in the rural areas. But the people that I've kept in contact with was a great deal because of social media.
Yeah, I made a lot of friends on the program, American students and students at the host university. So actually, one of my friends actually visited me about a month ago and stayed with me for 5 days, and I showed him around New York. So yeah, definitely keeping in touch with the acquaintances I made there, friends, and my family members who I got to meet. I get to keep that connection. It's not just you have your family in America and you have those relatives you've never met before. Like now you're more connected, I guess, from you being able to go there. So yeah, definitely.
It's definitely easier than when we were studying.
Yeah. It's just, we only have to write postcards.
Exactly.
Maybe would show up 20 years later. I just thought, how can I get away from this person? I don't know them, but now. I have been also organizing a teleconference poetry exchange between some kids in the South Bronx, in Korea, Tokyo, and Okinawa. And I've been doing it done in 3 academic years, and we just were able to have the students all get together in person. And they really had a great time because they also had gotten to know each other, partly because of what they were sharing were poems about their families, their lives, their struggles. And so I think that that's another way that the United States can really promote and continue to nurture those kinds of relationships. So if you have opportunities to do that, I think that's to keep it going.
Well, we were really excited to hear about what Ambassador Kennedy's done with her poetry program, because it's another big initiative of the State Department, the virtual exchanges, where you connect classrooms virtually, and that's exactly what she's done, and it's been a really powerful thing.
The people that I'm doing it with in the Bronx are now doing it with 12 countries in Europe.
So it's expanded. Yeah, that's amazing. There are lots of more opportunity with technology today than we had many years ago. So we have audience questions now, and we encourage you to submit questions to. We've got people along here who can help. So this question is for Ambassador Kennedy and for myself. What is a great memory from your study abroad, living abroad experiences?
I'm not telling. I worked so hard. No, I do tell people, and I mean, you guys weren't completely academic, but I tell Japanese students because they do work incredibly hard and take it really seriously, and we do too, but in a different way. How important it is to, what happens outside the classroom is as or more important as what happens inside the classroom. It's people you get to know, stay in touch with you in your life. Such a special experience. So I do have friends that I kept in touch with. I mean, not all the time, but along the way. And I think I had wanted to go there to England because my parents had both studied abroad as well. So this was not a huge departure for me. Like Evan said, I knew people who had done it and survived, so I felt I could do it. And for my kids, the same. And they really made friends, and I'm sure will last a lifetime as well.
For me, I think it was traveling just immediately. We would have Fridays. I didn't have class on Fridays, so it basically meant I had 3-day weekends, and that's what I would do is sort of travel. Any opportunity. I was also in England. I was in London, which made it very easy to get around. And I think just seeing totally different parts of the world, because I'd never been before, was really eye-opening and transformational. And just kind of, the more I saw, the more I wanted to see. And I think that's what you find with many study abroad students, because we always find in our work that when we've met study abroad students, I think then they think more internationally from that point on, and they want to explore more internationally, whether it be through their careers, the Peace Corps, or some other avenue. So we do continue to innovate.
England is a foreign country.
Exactly.
So we get credit.
we have discussed that. We have to figure out how to cross the street without being hit. So we have a question from Twitter. Given media attention and people's fear of terror, how do you quell one's concern for a child who wants to study abroad? This is something we've talked about, and obviously this is a concern, a widespread concern right now. I think Ambassador Kennedy actually touched upon this in her remarks, which is I'd say, and I know she does, that it's more important than ever to study abroad and really build those bridges and understand one another and increase mutual understanding, increase international understanding cross borders, because we do have these issues of fear, and the best way to mitigate fear is to know someone, and that's what study abroad does. But I'd also say, practically speaking, the State Department has a program called STEP, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, and it means that when you're traveling and studying overseas, please do sign up for the STEP program through the embassy website, so that the embassy can be aware that you are in the country. They can alert you if there are safety issues. They can help track you if something comes up. And the ambassador spoke to this a little bit, because this is what your embassy must do, obviously, with people who are there. So we encourage everybody to think smartly about that. Okay, everybody, including CUNY leadership, stressed the global aspect of education, yet CUNY students don't have access to financial support or study abroad. Please address. So no, all questions are welcome. So I know we have, Latoya can speak to this maybe a little bit as well, but I would say from our perspective, we touched upon the Gilman program, which is the program Latoya was on, which is a program we're very proud of. You're only eligible for Gilman if you are a Pell Grant recipient, if you're receiving financial aid. And so I think it's very important that our biggest challenge is getting the word out about Gilman, because we just want as many people as possible to know, because we do think it's very important that study abroad, the students who are studying abroad from the United States really reflect the United States and who the United States is, because one of our greatest assets is our diversity. So we encourage people to look at Gilman, at the Critical Language Scholar Program, to come to studyabroad.state.gov, where we have resources available that we can help guide you through how to pursue study abroad from a financial perspective. And so we would also encourage you to come to our website, and no matter what college or university you're attending, we know today that most have study abroad offices or study abroad advisors, so we encourage you to speak to them and talk about your options. Sometimes there are foreign governments that also have scholarships in addition to the U.S. government scholarships that we've gone through here today. So we'd encourage you to do that. I don't know, Latoya, from your experience, was Gilman the first thing that you pursued when you were thinking about studying abroad? Or?
Well, I was lucky to just see Gilman before I tried to apply anywhere else. And once I saw Gilman, realized that I qualified, I immediately applied, and I was accepted, so I didn't have to look elsewhere. It's been amazing. It really just cut the cost in terms of me not worrying about the financial aspect of studying abroad, which was immense.
It is, and it really is. We do find it's the greatest barrier that
Yeah.
people come across. So we encourage you to take those steps. Okay, another question from the audience for Ambassador Kennedy and myself. Please describe your professional trajectory from an undergraduate student to your respective posts within the State Department. And what advice would you give to students looking to follow your trajectory?
Well, working with the New York City public schools was really the best work experience of my life, and I think I got really an appreciation. And I think there's no more important long-term issue for the United States than education, and I think that we need to. And I want to congratulate this institution for having such a strong, illustrious history and benefiting so many millions of people coming to this city and this country for such a long time. And it's really, I think, an inspiring legacy. And so I'm thrilled to be here today. But I do, that's a whole other discussion, but I would say that that it really gave me a renewed and deeper appreciation for the importance of the kind of international society that we are and our challenges. And so this was an incredible opportunity that one thing didn't flow from the other. But I suppose I would say, in addition to working really hard, setting goals, trying to meet them, not just on your own, but realizing that you need to reach out and get help from other people all along the way, you should also keep your mind open for the unexpected and take a chance.
I would agree with all of that advice. From my perspective, and especially because so many of you here are students, I credit internships for my career. I grew up right outside of Washington, so it was a natural that I could go into Washington and intern, and that's what I did every summer. And I think I learned a lot from the internship programs, so I would encourage all of you to look at internship programs. And then from those, I eventually got a job from one of the internships, and the network that I established from that universe, both the internships and my first job, have really been what propelled me, I think, all along. So it's always good to be connected and collegial with your coworkers, because you never know if they might have a job opportunity down the road that they'll think you might be good for. And then just to work really hard, because again, back to internships, interns have to do all the stuff that's not so fun, but you do it anyway with a smile on your face and you work really hard. Sometimes that don't end okay. Okay, we have another question from the audience. What are some mistakes you have made or observed someone make during their study abroad? So maybe we'll ask our panelists here, Latoya and Bill, did you all feel like you made a mistake while studying abroad? Or is there a friend that you felt made a mistake while studying abroad?
I think what I've observed from the students who I studied abroad with, who were coming from America, was their reluctance to really engage with the people and the food, just the culture in itself. It's definitely a different thing that most of the students are used to, and it was something that I guess was really not what I would have done, was they didn't engage fully. And I would advise that you take the time to really go out and immerse yourself in the culture, and know that if it can be perceived as disrespectful if you turn down certain things or if you decline to do certain things, because the people are really excited to see you a lot of the time.
I think that's very wise advice, actually.
Not so much a mistake, but one policy on the CLS program was the language pledge that we had to maintain, so we were not hours, and it's hard to keep that, all the time. So we would slip up here and there, and I feel like that is probably one mistake that, like, if we had kept to that, obviously we all improved a lot in our language capacity, but keeping to that rigid policy is probably what pushed us through, so I guess that would be, if you're there for a reason. Stick to trying to use, for language purposes, stick to using the language. That's the only way you're going to retain it.
Also good advice. Well, I think we have come up to the end of our time. So we want to thank LaToya and Bill. And Ambassador Kennedy.